Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Welcome to our top travel destinations. I am your host, Kevin Flanagan. I have been editor of the weekly travel news column in the Sunday Independent and the Fine Wine and Food Guide, and I am here to use my decades of experience to help you know exactly where to stay, eat, drink, shop and explore when visiting the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy the wonders of travel as we take off on our magical journey together. Welcome to our London special podcast. This, I hope, will be your ultimate travel guide if you're visiting the capital of the United Kingdom for a couple of days. I'm going to try to do all the heavy lifting for you so you'll be able to get an insight as to where to explore, where to eat, drink, stay, and maybe one or two little hidden gems as well. So let's dive straight into this incredible city. There are, in my estimation, a few of the great world cities. They don't really depend on the nationality of the country they're in. New York would be one. Paris would be another. Bangkok would be one. And London certainly, like Rome, fits into that. It has its own unique world quality, and it welcomes people from around the world. In fact, over 20 million visitors just before the pandemic. Now, that doesn't quite compare actually to Paris or New York, which has over 60 million. But it's still one of the top cities for tourism, and it always ranks very highly when tourists are asked what are their favourite capital cities. So why is that? Well, let's see what makes London unique. I suppose, really, I'm a Londoner. I was born in Oxford, but I was brought up in London, in Wimbledon, in fact, and I spent my childhood, my teenage years, and my young adult years in London. So I'm going to claim the city for my own, and I really loved living in London. I was lucky. It was the 60s, the summer of love. I can't think of anywhere better to live. Maybe San Francisco, but London certainly was the place to be. It was just brimming with creativity. The Beatles, the Stones, all of that movement, creativity, film. So it was a fantastic place to just hang out in. And then you look at fashion and the King's Road and the great artists that went on to produce and change into things like punk. So I suppose London is unique because of this rich historical heritage. They're making history all the time. And of course, it goes right back. If you want to go back, you can find buildings that date to Roman times. You know, you've got these huge historical buildings like the Tower of London, steeped in history from Shakespeare onwards. Westminster Abbey, we've all seen the great royal weddings there. The Palace of Westminster, Big Ben, and the Houses of Parliament. And then you've got these world-class museums, which I studied the arts when I was in London, at London University, in fact, the Courtauld Institute. And you have places like the British Museum, the National Gallery, the V&A. One of my friends had a huge role to play in that. So you've got incredible cultural treasures. You may or may not be into the royal family, but they certainly are a big draw. The Crown TV series probably helped, and they attract people. It's been estimated that the cost to the public purse is more than offset by the spend that people visiting London paid to all things royal. You can't mention London without mentioning theatre and entertainment. The West End is a name unto itself for great theatre. What I particularly love about London is its cultural diversity. And when I've moved to other smaller cities over my lifetime, I missed the different colours, different accents, different languages. London is a melting pot. And you've also got these incredible green parks and green spaces. Hyde Park, Regent's Park, Hampstead Heath. I mean, it's brimming over with these iconic green areas, as well as iconic landmarks. And being the hub for all of this is the Great River Thames, and it offers such incredible iconic views, stunning backdrops. And we haven't even got on to shopping. You've got the Camden Market and Borough Market, which is definitely worth a visit. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. Incredible restaurants, and above all else, fantastic public transport. The Underground does have a worldwide reputation justifiably, so you can get about without getting taxis, which when I was there just a couple of weeks ago have certainly gone up in price. So there you have it, a city that is crammed with history. You've got events and festivals going on year round, which can be attractive if you're interested in the arts or if you're interested in fashion. You film and television locations from Harry Potter to James Bond. It's so amazing. And as I say, I have a particular interest, and not only was I brought up in London, but I go back there on special occasions. I was there for a significant birthday recently, and I brought my grandkids and we did some of the touristy things. So I'm going to give you just a few recommendations, and they won't cost an arm and a leg. If you've only a couple of days, pick one or two of these. And I'm going to end off with a hidden gem, which I think will encapsulate everything and won't cost you one penny. So wait till the end and you'll hear that. Big places to visit. Well, I think the British Museum is actually worth a visit. It has pretty much everything from prehistory right up to the present day. It's almost forbidding. It's so big and there's so much. It's like going to the Louvre. You just don't know where to start. I'll give you a little tip. Start with one particular thing, like the Egyptian collection or the famous Elgin marbles, controversial Elgin marbles, and just stick to one thing and really get something out of it. I don't think you can visit London without going and having a look at Buckingham Palace and the changing of the guards. One way to do all of this and wrap up all of this is to take one of the open bus tours. There are many there. They're all pretty good value, and they'll give you an overview. It's a hop on, hop off. You can get off wherever takes your fancy. And by the end of the day, you will have a good overview if it's your first time to London. I would always recommend that. You've got the Tower of London, which is definitely worth walking around. It may be worth popping into if that takes your fancy. If you're a theatre goer, you've the West End, which is crammed from Harry Potter to Mamma Mia. Go up to Soho and have a look around there. That's really is a wonderful place to go. Again, if you've just 2 or 3 days, I would pick one or two of these and make it your own and not be ballyragged by running around chasing your own tail. One of my own favourites is the Tate Modern. We're going to come to that in my hidden gem at the end, but the Tate Modern is a converted power station on the side of the River Thames, and that is definitely worth a half-day visit if you're interested in modern art, modern buildings. It has the famous Millennium Bridge running from St. Paul's in front of it, which featured in one of the later Harry Potter films. Last time we were there, we actually did take the London Eye because of the grandkids. I wouldn't be running back to that as an experience. A simple walk along the Thames will give you just as much, but, it's there. You have to book online, not cheap, but again, it's an option. And then you've got wonderful things like the Science Museum in Kensington, another beautiful part of London. And then some of the great markets like Camden Market, where you can wander through, see the stalls, international cuisine, entertainment. One of my own favourites, if you haven't tried this before, one of my first romantic visits as a teenager was down to Greenwich. Here, of course, you'll have the Cutty Sark, the famous ship. It's a very beautiful part of London. You've got the Royal Observatory, and of course the Prime Meridian line, Greenwich Mean Time, runs through Greenwich. I would describe that as off the beaten track, and if you want something a little bit different, and it's very beautiful and it's not too touristy, try Greenwich. So there's a range of activities. All of these will be in the accompanying article. You can also go to my website, thetoptraveldestinations.com, and you will get a list with links to all of these activities and everything we discuss in this podcast. So do avail of that. It's free and it's useful. I'm sort of doing the work for you. Last time I was there, I stayed at the Me Hotel, which is on the Strand in Covent Garden, a Norman Foster hotel, very impressive, maybe a little bit impersonal. If you really want to give yourself a blast, I'd have preferred the Ritz or the Savoy. You'll pay, but you can still get deals, and you're steeped in history. It's not this modern, rather cold, impersonal experience. So you've got those two options as well. If you want something a little bit different, the Shangri-La Hotel is in the Shard, the famous Shard building. And this has pretty breathtaking views. They've taken so many upper stories on this iconic skyscraper, and extraordinarily elegant rooms, exceptional dining, make a perfect stay. If you're looking at the opposite end for really good value, try the Premier Inn, which is in Aldgate, a really old part of London. Very good value, does what it says on the tin. You're only going to be there to lay your head down, and it's in a fabulous part of London. And I think travellers on a budget will really appreciate the Premier Inn brand and what it offers. Clean, convenient locations and rooms. Perfect for exploring London without breaking the bank. Okay, where to eat? Well, it's spoiled for choice, but I'm going to give you my recommendations so again you don't have to spend hours trawling through the internet and still scratching your head at the end. If you're going for the ultimate experience, which a friend of mine treated me to a couple of weeks ago, the Riverside Restaurant by Gordon Ramsay in the famous Savoy on the Strand, you're not going to get any more posh, anything more elegant than this. I sat down on a Sunday lunchtime and enjoyed oysters and champagne while the service was a bit slow. It was still a one-off experience. You don't have to do it more than once, I don't think. There's the American bar you can go and have a look at as well. It's steeped in history. Remember, the Savoy was created through the funds made by Gilbert and Sullivan's entrepreneur. He built it next to the theatre they used to perform their operettas in. So it's got that history mix, that wonderful Covent Garden mix of business and art. So definitely worth a try. If you want to be really, really ultra cool, there's only one place to go at the moment. That's Gold in Notting Hill Gate. This is the uber trendy place. I enjoyed the food. Thought it was a bit on the dull side, but there's a great buzz there. It is the place to go. Try the confit duck leg, I would say, and the cocktails are good. There's one called the Gold Rush, but it's a very trendy place. You'll have to book online beforehand. If you want to try something a little less elite, J. Shiki Atlantic Bar in Covent Garden, one of my favourite places, just off St. Martin's Lane, has wonderful seafood. I had oysters there as well on another birthday celebration. It's seafood, shellfish. I loved it, and it's a relaxed atmosphere. Last time I was out there, we stayed out rather late dancing, which I will going to recommend a couple of places for you to go as well. For a 2 a.m. mop-up of the overindulgence of the evening, Five Guys just off Piccadilly Circus will give you a burger and chips. In fact, chomping into that as we walked back to the hotel, as dawn was almost rising, was a wonderful experience. Where to drink? Well, the trendiest place in London at the moment was, or still is, I'm not so sure, but the Chiltern Firehouse. It's famous for Robert De Niro going there, all the top models, footballers. It's a bit stuck up its own, in my opinion. I'd go online and read some of the reviews of the Chiltern. I left one, which I think was very fair. A lot of them talk about the way that the stewards and the waitresses look down on the clientele. It is sort of caught up in its own legend, if you like. So it's a little way out as well. You have to go all the way out to Chiltern Street. I'm glad I went there. They have a great signature cocktail called the Chiltern Collins, but they kick everybody out at 7 if you're not part of the in crowd. I don't really like that vibe, but it's worth going along. My inside sources says that they've had to open it up to keep the shackles coming in, and now you get people going there who are going there because they want to see the people who are going there. So that's sort of a vibe. Much better is head off down to Soho. There's a little bar there called the Bar Termini. I'm afraid I'm going to turn this into maybe a hit by mentioning it them. It's on Old Compton Street in the heart of Soho, my favourite part of London after Covent Garden. This is a cocktail-infused haven. Negroni and Americana, just incredible. It's very small. You could hardly swing a cat in it, but it's wonderful. Check this out. Next door is a sex shop. No, I'm joking. It's actually a bar called La Bodega Negra. I know the chief bartender there, Constantius, a great guy, a Greek. He's fabulous. And you can go down there and drink and dance, and they do really hot cocktails. Great place. They also do Mexican food. That's a really good option. it goes on very late. So those are from the very posh to the down and dirty. You've got someone to go to Five Guys afterwards on your way home to mop up any overindulgence. Where to shop? It's like a needle in a haystack, isn't it? London has everything, one of those great cities. Two places I'd like you to walk past. Get your way up to Chiltern Street. Go to Mucky Mao. This has the most extraordinary collection of expensive clothes I've ever seen since being in New York. I enjoyed it. The staff were fantastic. It's like an art gallery. I was looking at this very expensive leather jacket while Premiership footballers and their very elegant girlfriends swanned around us. This leather jacket was valued at nearly 3,000 sterling. The guy who was talking to me, a very nice chap who was serving us, looked at my jacket and said, "But you know what, you don't really need that. Your leather jacket's actually really cool." He said, "Where'd you get it from?" I whispered in his ear, "I got it from Zara for €130. A big saving, but it was fun to look at T-shirts, all done by designers. Very, very interesting place. You don't have to drop any money, but it's worth going to. I don't think you can go to London without visiting Harrods. It's sort of like a tacky museum now. Personally, it's worth that one visit. And you're spoilt for choice. It's just interesting going through the door. It's interesting looking at all of the extraordinary watch collections if you're into watches. It's interesting seeing all the different bars and restaurants. It's full of people looking at each other because Harrods is such a destination place. I don't know how many people actually shop there who are locals, but it's worth breezing into. Get the tube up to High Street Ken, have a walk around there, which is a great part of London, and have a meander through Harrods. If you want something a little bit more real, then the Borough Market. These are one of these wonderful London markets with a 1,000-year history, and you've got a fantastic selection of international street food options, which I love. Just before I head off to Asia in this dark part of the year, you can find the same equivalent in the Borough Market of Asian and Malaysian, Singaporean street food. Brilliant. There are some really interesting local attractions as well, like Southwark Cathedral, the Golden Hind, Winchester Palace, even the Clink Museum. Interesting part of London. Now I'm going to give you my couple of hidden gems. Well, they're not that hidden, but one of them is certainly, I can't let you leave London without talking about Covent Garden. Such is my love for the place, because I worked there and performed there as a dancer, that I've done a separate special little mini podcast on it. So do check that out. But the Covent Garden Street performers, these are in the Covent Garden complex, this fantastic part of London next to the Royal Opera House, and you will find some of the greatest talented people performing on the street for your entertainment. When I was last up there a couple of weeks ago, we had a trapeze artist who made my belly laugh. I nearly got sick. He was so funny. And you don't have to pay for it. It's bad karma if you don't, but he hands a hat round at the end and you throw in your $5 or whatever you think the show is worth. And whenever you turn up, there's something on. Just wrap up depending on the time of the year. It's absolutely mesmerizing. If you want a dance experience, I think a really nice place is on the Charing Cross Road is Salsa Soho. It's not that heavy-duty London nightclub, which can be, sort of a little bit intimidating sometimes. This is full of Latin American dance lovers, and you can get lovely cocktails and just have a little dance or a chat. There's a big dance area. It's a chilled out atmosphere, and again, right in the heart of the city. Now for my real hidden gem. I think this is the best thing you can do if you're able to walk. If you're not, then you can get a boat equivalent actually. But I would take the walk along the embankment from Westminster Bridge to Tower Bridge. Last time I was in London, I took a friend who hadn't done this walk before. He knows London very well. He was mesmerised. You'd like good weather, so if it's raining or if it's cold, then maybe take the boat option. But if it's walkable, start off, get the tube to Westminster, walk past Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament so you see them, and continue up on the right-hand side of the river, and you will pass. The walkway there is absolutely dedicated just to pedestrians. You will see London. I would suggest you walk all the way to Tower Bridge. You will pass the Tate Modern. You will pass the Millennium Bridge. You will pass St. Paul's. You will see all of the major sites of London in a 2-hour stroll. You can stop off and have a coffee. You can stop off and have a pancake, a falafel. You can see dancers. You can see acrobats, street performers. It's fabulous. The richness of London is there, and that adventure awaits you, and it won't cost you a penny. So I really hope you've got some good ideas on what to do, how to explore the hidden gems, where to stay, eat. But above all else, make sure that you get your walking shoes on and you take in what is undoubtedly one of the great cities of the world.